Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to another Pallavi Market Research video. This morning, I'm going to be describing to you what Benford's Law is. And at the end of the video, you're going to understand how Benford's Law works in a few different contexts, and most specifically, how you can utilize Benford's Law to identify market opportunities for yourself. Now, let's define this thing. Benford's Law can also be known as the first digit law. It is a principle that applies to real-world numerical data, so like large data sets, right? It's a probability distribution that basically states that the first digit is more likely to be small than large. And it really is actually that simple, and we'll unpack it in the next slide. So it is used, like I was saying earlier, to analyze markets, to detect fraud, and most importantly, probably, is to detect data integrity. So this is what we're looking at here. So if you have a random number that's generated, literally, the probability that that first digit of that number being is 1 is 30.1%. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a first digit law. So if, say, you have just a spreadsheet of financial data, right? It doesn't even really matter what it's regarding. The odds that the first digit on that spreadsheet is a 1 for an individual piece of data, right? For an individual number is 1 is 30.1%. 2 is 17.6, and you can see this distribution here, right? It follows some of the probability distributions that we discussed in our probability video, right? Now, using Benford's law is actually quite interesting. So over like a 10-year period, you can see that the daily volume of shares on NASDAQ, right, is following this same Benford's law. I like this example here because this was used by the GameStop community when they were, the GameStop Reddit community. They were tracking daily volume closings, right? And applying Benford's law to it to see if it followed that distribution, which it sort of did, right? You can kind of see that they were better informed on how the market was going to move, right? This is part of the tools that the Reddit community was utilizing when pumping GameStop, right? And you can even see it with like things like importing and exporting fish as a commodity in America. Okay. Now, even more interestingly, is how it's utilized for detecting fraud. So, this is one of the most common ways that the IRS identifies you as someone who's engaged in fraudulent behavior. Because if you are making up random numbers, it's not going to follow the same natural laws, right? That Benford's law proves, the first number law proves. So this is the data of all publicly available financial data from 2001 to 2011. So a huge, huge amount of data is getting pumped into this. And you can see it follows Benford's law. Now, Enron's data, right, is highly skewed. It's very, very, very much deviating from this pattern. This is the type of thing that you can use to identify market opportunities, right? And so we're going to dive right into that. So when you're using Benford's law for market opportunities, you're essentially utilizing it to identify unique or unusual patterns in financial data. And when you are analyzing, say, a stock or even maybe a crypto token that has, more like legitimate financial data that you can find on DeFi Llama, like a DEX, like a Trader Joe, like a Uniswap that actually have fees that are predictable, right? You can utilize this framework as well. So when you're looking at like a financial report, a quarterly report from stock that you're tracking, right? You can identify the companies within a typical digit distribution in their reports. And this could signal some kind of unique financial situation. Okay. So this is like, this is basically a way of saying that you can identify more financial gamesmanship if it's not, because obviously very unlikely a public company is going to be able to like do truly fraudulent activity based off of like the insane compliance requirements that they have. But it obviously does happen. But it's a lot more likely that a stock is engaged in financial gamemanship, right? Where they're working the books, like, as I'm sure you guys have seen and heard of in your own lives, right? And it's also really great, like I think really, really great for identifying undervalued stocks. Okay. Stocks that are growing nicely and are not engaging in less financial gamesmanship, so they're not like trying to push their books, right? They're not trying to make it look like they're doing better than they are. And they're trading at a lower multiple than other companies in that similar niche are trading at, right? That's an awesome way for identifying, you know, a company, a market opportunity based off Benford's law. And like the one that we were just looking at earlier, with trading volume, right, and predicting trading volume in the future, what are the most likely probabilities for tomorrow's trading volume, right? That's another great utilization of Benford's law that we just broke down. The Reddit community was also utilizing at the time. And then the last one is like sector trends, or really just risks. Identifying what sectors are growing and not growing and what are shrinking, right? You can use Benford's law to highlight like these broader economic trends, because when it comes to Benford's law, it relates back to natural numbers, right? Like we were talking about at the beginning of the video. And natural numbers really involve large data sets, right? It's like huge amounts of numbers, essentially. Um, like, of course, this fish example and this daily volume of NASDAQ shares example at the beginning of the video. Okay, guys, I hope this is helpful. I hope you learned something, and we'll pick this up again tomorrow. Okay. And please comment if you have any specific requests or topics that you're unclear about still, even if it's previous videos, it doesn't matter. All right. See you, gentlemen.